Good evening, listeners. This is Bless Radio. It's 6 p.m. on Tuesday evening in London, UK, and this is the Spiritual Discussion Program. I'm Saad in southeast London, and the weather here today is overcast and it's mild, I would call it. With me, as usual, is Gregory. Gregory, how are you and how is the weather where you are?
One is fine and been bright here. It was overcast, but now very bright.
Okay, very good. Welcome, listeners, to the Spiritual Discussion Program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And we have a new topic for discussion every week. The topic tonight is the Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. The Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail message? The Grail message in the light of truth by Abdushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life. For through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth, combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Abdushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. And I'd like to give you one more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace, if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic for tonight's discussion is the Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. The Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. You can contact us with any comments or any questions by contacting our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, as you know, I always like to check the meaning of the words in the topic in the dictionary. And today we have a long title or topic, which is the Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. Now, the first word there is spirit. So the dictionary, I found this meaning there. Actually, it gives two meanings for spirit. The first meaning, it says the non-physical part of a person, which is the seat of emotions and character, the soul. And actually, they gave an example of this meaning, which says we seek a harmony between body and spirit. So what this meaning, Gregory, of spirit, is that a good definition for our discussion?
As we had looked into it in the past, the dictionary only gives an approximate definition or approximate description of what it seeks to convey. Therefore, that which it has used for now, because it is very popular, although it doesn't precisely, give us the right impression, it will be a starting point in which there's the need for further refinement.
Thank you for that answer there, Gregory. Now I'm going to go to the second meaning that the dictionary says about spirit. The prevailing or typical quality, mood or attitude of a person, group or period of time. And it gives again an example there. I hope the team will build in this spirit of confidence. So let me just repeat that, because I myself didn't quite follow what it says. This is another meaning for spirit. It is the prevailing or typical quality, mood, or attitude of a person, group, or period of time. An example given, I hope the team will build on this spirit of confidence. So, Gregory, on this particular meaning, what would you say about that, please?
Again, it follows the same pattern. These are only figures of speech to express something. All right, but it doesn't really describe, doesn't tell you precisely what it is that we are trying to convey.
Okay, so I want us to be more precise so that people are clear about it in our discussion. What would you define spirit as? Is it a human being? Sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was adding a bit more. So the spirit, is it referring to human being, animal, something else in addition?
This is why it is necessary to gradually build up a conception of what spirit is. And only through this gradual process will the personality come to understand what spirit is. And basically, one should also consider that when that word spirit is used, it is not referring to stones or to the vegetation or to the animals, but it is referring to the human personality. So that is a big distinction. That word spirit is referring to a human personality. And that being the case, many of the other impressions woven around it will suddenly disappear. That means it cannot be referred to as that of an animal. However, to be more precise, which precision one can arrive at through the gradual study of the walk in the light of truth, the Grail message, a definition which may be appropriate of spirit is that of an energy spark, that of an energy radiation spark, which makes use of the physical body. This energy radiation spark refers to the inner core of man, which inner core of man controls the physical body. That is a category which is different from others.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for that clarification or even expansion of the definition. I think he's called it energy radiation spark, if I'm correct.
Correct.
Okay. And but when you put it in those words, somehow it doesn't quite equate with a human being. But you said it is. If you can just say it again, is that the core of the human being? If I heard you correctly, please, can you just confirm that?
That is the inner core of a human being. For strictly speaking, what's mainly referred to in common parlance as energy, energy is spirit. No one has been able to hold energy in their hands. No one has been able to smell energy or to use the five senses on energy. However, the effect of energy is accessible. The effect of energy in which there are changes of objects, in which the human spirit is able to carry out certain activities. These are the effects of energy. So when one says the inner core of man is of energy, a radiation spark, one is referring to the inner human personality that is making statements like this, but this is now referring to human personality that are capable of awareness, that are capable of consciousness and subsequently self-consciousness. One is only expanding on this when one is referring to as spirit.
Thank you for that answer and picture there, Gregory. I just got a bit lost, if I can say what you were saying when you said, specifically, I'm talking about when you said that spirit is energy, and then I thought, when I look at energy, it looks like, oh, the table is also, everything is energy. You know, the table, the animal is made, you know, everything that exists is made of some form of energy, in just some form of some energy. So a human being, yes, animal, table, mountain, you know, whatever exists, you can say, is some sort of form of energy, you know. But I think in our discussion, we are trying to point, when we refer to spirit, we are saying specifically for our discussion, let's say, we want to refer to the human being or human personality or
There
core of
was
the human.
this further qualification in which one referred to a different category of energy, that energy that is capable of awareness, that energy or that energy spark or energy radiation spark that is capable of awareness or is capable of consciousness. A table is not capable of consciousness. Neither would you say a stone is capable of consciousness. And one went further to talk of a radiation spark, which we refer to as energy, that is capable of self-consciousness. So gradually one has extended this. It is that which is capable of self-consciousness, that energy radiation spark that is capable of self-consciousness, that is what is referred to as spirit.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for, you could say, a re-clarification. Thank you for that. I will say it's a lot to take in, but we will keep going because there's a lot of words, terms have been, you know, expressed, and we, let's say, step by step, we'll go through them, and hopefully we'll get deeper and clearer about all of them. So thanks again, Gregory, on that. I will now move on to the second word in the topic, which says speaks. So the spirit, again, the topic is the spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. And so the second word is speak. And again, in the dictionary, I've got a number of meanings given. So speak, it says say something in order to convey information or to express a feeling. And again, the example they give in the dictionary, in his agitation, he was unable to speak. So, Gregory, how is, again, this word meaning here, is that helpful for our discussion?
The tendency for one is to say, no, it is not helpful, because certain words have now become a figure of speech. When a speech is referred to, then there is that human organ, one of the five senses, of which speech, the ability to speak, is referred to. That whereas what is referred to here, the spirit, one would not say it speaks, for the spirit communicates in a different manner.
Right. You are saying the spirit doesn't speak, but communicates in a different manner. So that is making me a bit more, I don't want to say confused, but not clear. So are we saying the spirit doesn't speak now? Are we saying that?
The spirit does not speak. The spirit communicates. To take the whole statement instead of the past statement you're talking, the spirit communicates via the intuitive perception. The intuitive perception itself presents pictures, a picture without words, which picture is then subsequently interpreted using the five organs which we have, that of speech, that of sight, and that all the feelings, the five senses. So you have the spirit communicating, presenting these signals. It is the transformation, or it is the interpretation of this signal that is what has been referred to as speech. A very simple example. Here we are communicating. You are speaking into the microphone. Now, this microphone, or whatever it is that goes into your computers and all that, is transmitted into signal. This signal is then transmitted across and is then received. Then, subsequently, these impressions, which are light waves, are then reinterpreted. It is the reinterpretation that is now being referred to. But the activities of the spirit generate the intuitive perception. These intuitive perceptions presented are a picture without words. Words only come in later. More of this. Many should refer to the work in the light of truth, the Grail message. This makes it very clear. And one just gave a very simple example of how these things work.
Thank you again, Gregory, for this picture and answer. What we are seeing slowly but surely, and hopefully the listeners are able to follow that we are aware of our five senses, which we use daily on our earthly activities, and then the spirit, which you can say controls this body, the human body that we are inhabiting, you can say, the spirit personality is inhabiting, communicates with the body or through the body. But the language of the spirit, if I can put it like that, is a different language than the five senses that of the body that we are familiar with, although they interact with each other, with the spirit personality, you can say. So you can say that's why I use the word language, not meaning English and French being two different languages, but different, you could say, mode. The five senses being one mode, and then there's this other mode, which is called the intuitive perception. And so slowly but surely, listeners, you're going to follow what this all means as we go further into the discussion. But the point is to realize that these are, yes, there's an existence of us human beings on the earth, but we do have different means of how we operate on this earth, as has been expressed, the five senses, plus we have this intuitive perception. So, yeah, so thank you for that, Gregory. Now, actually, it leads us very nicely to the next word in the topic. So just a reminder again, everybody, the topic we have tonight is the spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. So the next word we are looking at is the word through. And in the dictionary, it says moving in one side and out the other side of. So an opening, a channel, or a location. An example they give is it's not very appropriate for us, but it says she walked through the doorway into the living room. So Gregory, this I know you can't always use the words on their own, but we are saying the spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. So this meaning of the word through, moving in one side and out the other side of, is that again any help for us in our discussion?
You already provided an answer saying that taking these words on their own doesn't give a more precise picture, because these are figures of speech. However, to use the nearest, one may say channel or bridge.
Right, yes, I think you're right. That makes a bit more sense. So yes, so we'll use like it is a bridge. So that's a good point there. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next words in the meaning of the topic. Sorry, the next word there is intuitive, and that in the dictionary says based on feelings rather than facts or proof. And there's a number of meanings given, Gregory. So, for example, sorry, here's so let me just start again. The meaning of the word intuitive is based on feeling rather than facts or proof. And they give an example, an intuitive approach or judgment they give. So another example they give actually, most people have an intuitive sense of right and wrong. So Gregory, is intuitive mean based on feelings rather than facts or proof?
Again, with due respect to the dictionary, these are collation of words which sometimes these words give different impressions which are not even connected. Feeling, to some extent, or to a very remote extent, may be accepted. So when that word intuitive is considered, of course, one can already perceive that there is something which, strictly speaking, is of a nature which is different from the outermost, from the covering. So it must be more or less a vibration, a type of vibration that, whose source is from deep within. And that is why it's referred to as intuitive. So the word intuitive, more or less, is more of a vibration that has its source from the inner core of man.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this explanation and answer there. You saying that intuitive is a vibration, or sensing is a vibration. Intuitive sensing is a vibration. I think you said it's coming from the core of the. Is it? Can you just say it again, Gregory, please?
It's a vibration that has its source from the inner core of man. And that inner core of man is of spirit.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Again, I know it's repetition, but it helps to sink in what you're to absorb it properly. So thank you for that, dear listeners. I want to let you know this is the spiritual discussion program broadcasting on Bless Radio from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. And if you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, then you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And we are broadcast, before I say that, the topic we are discussing tonight is the Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. The Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. And you're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again that's the number 1, space, live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again that's the number 1, space, Grail message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is the Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. And lastly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM / Bless Radio 1. Again, that's the number 1. Now, Gregory, I know we've been repeating the topic over and over, but I'll repeat one more time for just now at least. And the topic is the Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. So the last word there is perception. So of course I looked at also up in the dictionary, and the word perception, the dictionary says there are a number of meanings, but one of them says a belief or opinion often held by many people based on how things seem. And one example they give, we have to change the public's perception that money is being wasted. And I'll give another example there. These photographs will affect people's perception of war. So, Gregory, as I said, there are more than one meaning here. This meaning, I will just repeat it again, for the word perception, a belief or opinion often held by many people based on how things seem. Is that the meaning, is that appropriate for our, our discussion here?
Like one has been remarking from the beginning, only when the whole expression is taken, the whole expressions that make up the topic, only then will it make sense. Because there are figures of speech which have been used again and again. The word perception, when viewed aright, is more like a source of reception. One can imagine something that is being received. Only perceive what has been received. If nothing has been received, one cannot perceive it. So, a near picture to perception will be a tool for reception. Whether that tool for reception is one's ear, is one's eye, is one's nose, is one's tasting bud, it is immaterial. So that's what perception may be for now be used to replace. The word perception, one can now encapsulate it as a tool for reception. The nearest one may use in this particular instance.
Thank you so much for that explanation there, Gregory. I was looking at another meaning given in the dictionary for the word perception, and it turned into a question in my mind, actually. Just now you've said that you can perceive by the ear, by the nose, the mouth, the tasting, you can say, and so on. So these are tools for perceiving. And so if I just read this particular meaning, and I then come up with a question based on that, it says, so again, another meaning for the word perception: the quality of being aware of things through the physical senses, especially sight. And then it says, the example I give here, drugs can alter your perception of reality. So just on that point, Gregory, I'd like to ask, can our perception be, how can I say, negatively affected in the sense of the perception of reality? Let's say, here they use drugs, that's for sight, using, but wondering, which I can say yes, or that this does happen. So what I want to ask, but let me ask it in this: can our intuitive perceptive capability be affected through, let's say, in its accuracy and seeing reality through some means? Can it be affected?
Before one answers that question, one will like to give a very simple example. The word perception one was referring to was a tool for reception. As children, we used to watch our fathers shave, and then there was the plain mirror, in which, using the plain mirror, you can see yourself plainly the way it is. Using a convex or a concave mirror, your face or your features can be enlarged or can be made smaller. These are facts. Therefore, the tool which is being used for reception can alter the way in which the human personality sees, smells, from that very simple example one gave. However, the discussion taken as a whole only means that the inner core of man communicates with the body through the intuitive perception, which is more of a way of saying the vibrations of the soul, which are of the spirit. These vibrations give off energy sparks, which sparks, which vibrations have an impression on the receiver, and it is that impression that is interpreted in different ways.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer and picture, which is really illustrates, you could say, how puts everything into its place. So you see it, how everything is operating. The intuitive perception, how it's being, you could say, passed on to the body, and then how it is interpreted, you could say, by the body. So yes, so that's, you can see things different when you have, in different situations it can happen that somebody will, the same thing that somebody's, or let's say two people are seeing, the way they would perceive it, or even describe it, or experience it, let's even say that, would be different, even though they're seeing the same thing. So yes, it brings up many questions, but I don't want to go too deep into those so many questions just yet. So yeah, thank you for that, Gregory. Now, I want to continue, Gregory, which is another word which we come across a lot, instinct. People say, oh, my instinct's telling me this, and it's almost interchangeable with the word intuition. But before I ask you to say anything more on that, Gregory, I just want to again refer to the dictionary for the meaning of the word instinct, and then we can distinguish it further. So in the dictionary, the instinct, it says, an innate, typically fixed pattern of behavior in animals in response to certain stimuli. And they give example of the homing instinct. I think we hear that with birds when they migrate. They know how to get from, somehow they know how to get from one place to the other. They don't, not from memory, but somehow they have this instinct. So just to repeat that, Gregory, the meaning of the word instinct: an innate, typically fixed pattern of behavior in animals in response to certain stimuli. Now, just to check with you first, Gregory, is that definition a good meaning for the word instinct?
When you yourself said good definition, means is it really appropriate? There are parts of it in the sense that it referred to animals, not man. And in that case, because it refers to animals, to some extent, it is usable. But the degree of usability is something else. What is clear, or what can be made clear, is that the source of instinct, the source of the intuitive perception is the inner core of man, which is of spirit. The source of instinct is from the soul, which in its operation has been influenced by the body. One is making a distinction between that which is of spirit with regards to entities and that which is of the soul. The animals have a soul that guides them, but not of spirit. And when instinct is talked about, these are vibrations that have arisen from the inner core of animals. These instinctive vibrations, which the animals are able to perceive because these animals do not have a free will as man has, because they are not of spirit. These animals have as a guiding instrument that which you yourself refer to as instinct. This instinct is tied to the nearest, in the case tied to nature, or to be more precise, tied to the world of matter. So man has spirit, the animal has in its reception and communication and stimuli, one may refer to the instinct. Man also is subject to instinctive behavior because man took over the body of the animal over millennia ago and gradually refined it to its present state in what one has referred to as evolution. In that particular instance, that communication between the soul and the body is instinctive. So man still has that part, but many a time it is not used as such. Just like one's intuitive perception has been completely forgotten. Only the animals, due to their nature, have kept on to their instinctive behavior.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for this detailed picture of instinct and, in relation to intuition as well, or intuitive perception, I should say, and between animal and distinction of animal, the instinct is, let's say, connected to the animal, and how it connects with the human being. Also, you have explained that too. So thank you for that. Now, now to move on to the real question I wanted to put to you in reference to intuitive perception and instinct, because as I say, in common language or discussions, people just interchange this word instinct with intuitive perception or intuition as if they're one and the same. But very clearly, that's why I wanted to go to the definition. They are actually different. Intuitive perception or intuition is different from the instinct. So somebody says, oh, my instinct is telling me this. And actually what their meaning is, what their intuition is telling them that, not the instinct. Yeah. In fact, Gregory, would I be right to say instinct is like a bit automatic, sort of, maybe that's a bit too mechanical, but I feel it like that instinct is more automatic response, rather than which intuition or intuitive perception, which is more, how can I put that? It's more, it's not automatic. Maybe I don't, that's maybe the way I can put it to distinguish the two of them. Would that be a good way to compare the two there, Gregory?
Most of the time, using the popular expressions, to some extent, yes. But that is a popular expression doesn't make it right. Like has been discussed, the intuition arises from the inner core of man, which is of spirit. However, that which is of instinct, strictly speaking, originates from the body. It originates from the body because it is of gross matter. Just as you have the body of the animal, which man took over, which is of gross matter. Instinct, strictly speaking, has arisen out of the soul. However, a clarification of these must be done very gradually, and it will do many a person a lot of good if they take their time to study silently the work in the light of truth, so as to gradually come to the right reception, the right conception of intuitive perception and the right conception of instinct. The best that one may do at this stage is to give examples as applies, as is applicable in everyday use. Intuition, the origin of it is the spirit, in the vibrations of the spirit. Instinct, the origin of it is in the world of matter, which many refer to as nature, or from the soul in conjunction with that vibration of the body. So you will find some of the inheritance of, in quotes, instincts in the way many behave. For there are some people who are very thin-skinned. That means the smallest thing that touches them, they just react, which they might have inherited from their parents. These are to some extent tied to the genes. But one would say, don't take one's word for it. Many should try to examine the work in the light of truth, to perceive for themselves and be able to come to the finest distinction. Else, we can go on gradually and gradually. That which has been built, has just been said, could be understood in a gradual process through experiences.
Thank you again, Gregory, for these answers you're giving and explanations to give us a better understanding of this, let's say, very deep topic or concept of spirit speaks through the intuitive perception, or even how the spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. Now, Gregory, you said talk about examples, so I would like to do that because, people say, oh, I have a gut feeling. This is going to this is happening, or that's going to happen. Even some people say sixth sense. Another one might say still small voice, which, I mean, all of them basically seem to be referring to this, the same thing. Now, are these things that I've just mentioned there, are they the spirit speaking through the intuitive perception?
One would say it is the spirit communicating with the physical body using the intuitive perception. These intuitive perception or intuitive impression impresses on the so-called solar plexus. Solar plexus, which is near the guts, and therefore many now say, oh, gut feeling. When this impression strikes the solar plexus, it awakens a feeling, which feeling is then transmitted to the back brain and subsequently the frontal brain. It is the frontal brain that we use for our everyday work in everyday awareness or daylight awareness, as different from that when we are asleep, in which in our sleep our eyes are closed, our ears are not that functional, although we are able to breathe. But that day consciousness in which the five senses are highly strong, that is what one is referring to. When that intuition has been made use of, there are many situations, in fact most situations, the pictures which have been passed across through the intuitive perception, these pictures are ignored.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for that answer there. Let's say up till now, what we've been saying is the intuitive perception is receiving, let's say, signals and passing it on to the body, So now, but you've mentioned already that this is actually meant to be communication rather than speaking. The spirit speaks through the intuitive perception is our topic, but actually it's the spirit communicating through the intuitive perception. Now, communication for me, it's supposed to be two-way. I don't mean between two people, just two-way, meaning goes to, let's say, goes out and it comes back. Maybe, as I say, receive and forgot the opposite of receive right now. So it's meant to be two-way. That's the point I'm trying to say, Gregory. So does the intuitive perception communicate in one way or in two ways? I mean, going back, forward and back, or just in one direction?
To have a more general picture, the vibrations of the spirit elicits the intuitive perception. And since that is the origin, it has an impact on the solar plexus, which subsequently is transmitted to the back brain and the frontal brain. And then we have the deeds using the five senses. That is one way. The reverse way is the case in which information, impressions are passed back, in which impressions, for example, impressions of happiness, of joyfulness, or of fear. These are vibrations, or these are external vibrations which have an impact on also the back brain, or from the frontal brain, or from one's deeds towards the frontal brain, then the back brain, subsequently to the solar plexus, and via the intuitive perception straight to the spirit. That becomes an experience which the spirit will hold on to and which is able to use here or hereafter. So it's not a one-way street. Many a time, real fear or some of this fear can cause a shock. A shock in such a way that it has a negative impact on the personality itself, which is of spirit. For what happens, that which it has never experienced, in which you had hideous behaviors, hideous forms, these are sent via the back brain to the solar plexus and then radiated back to the spirit. For a human personality whose spirit is not firm enough, it may have an impact on it and is shocked. So you have such cases in which such a shock has a negative impact on the spirit. So it's two ways. But the first one, because you said the spirit speaks, which means the spirit communicates through this bridge, that is accepted. The reverse way is the case in which the body, the deeds of man, through their vibration, one had given the example of intense joy when one listens to some type of music, intense relief when one is able to go through danger, intense sadness on different occasions. If it is made use of, like many do, or like children do when they experience the joy of Christmas, that reverberates deep within them. That reverberation strikes the solar plexus, and through one's intuition, which is a bridge, is able to communicate that joy and happiness through the spirit.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for this, again, detailed answer and picture about the two-way communication, of the spirit through the intuitive perception. Dear listeners, I want to let you know you're listening to Bless Radio. It's the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abrushin. And if you do wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is the spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. The spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we are broadcasting on Bless Radio 1. That's the number one.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1 space, that's the number one, space live stream. And you can listen to the recording of this show the next day also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number one again, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is the Spirit Speaks through the intuitive perception. And of course, you can listen to our previous recordings also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM / Bless Radio 1. That's again the number one. Now, Gregory, we've discussed a lot about how you could say, or the aspects of how the spirit communicates through the intuitive perception, or using the bridge of the intuitive perception to the body. So from the spirit to the body. So yes, now I want to look at, you could say, yeah, how it works basically in terms of the ability of the intuitive perception. Let's look, yeah, I could say that, and not only that actually. Let me just go straight to the question, and rather than try to make a summary of it. So Gregory, my question is, we talked about earlier that sometimes you gave the example, I think, when somebody is shaving, a man is shaving, and he can look in the plane mirror and he will see, how he looks in that way. Then he can also look in a convex mirror or in a concave mirror, and then he will see himself, let's say, with a bigger face, you could say, or with a smaller face, the zoom in or zoom out, you can say it like that, I guess. So let's say the reality of using the tool that you use for the communication, as we're talking here, it can be how you see it, the output of it can be different, and then you wonder, yes, it's my face, but is it that bigger according to that mirror, or it is smaller according to this other mirror? So you can see our perception of the reality can have a variation there. Now, okay, so let me say this, ask this now. Can one rely and trust the intuitive perception to be right, Gregory?
That which the Spirit provides is only based on its current states of experiencing. The Spirit cannot give you that which it knows nothing about. So based on its maturity, it will provide guidance and answer. Therefore, if you yourself or a human personality, could be a friend, is asking questions which is above the ability of or the capability of the particular human spirit, then the answers which will be provided are most likely based on the maturity of that human personality who is being questioned. One cannot say what it has said or the answers provided are wrong, because it speaks based on its experience at that particular time. This is a very typical case in which many times questions are asked. The maturity of the person who needs to receive this answer must be brought into play. For when the answers are provided, how does he himself, who had initially asked that question, how does he or she understand it? So these are the framework which first must be examined. For even as we speak, each personality will absorb the meaning of our speech, the meaning of our discussions in a different way. It is acceptable because these people are different. Their modes of experiences are different because they have different blood radiation. So one will find that one word or one picture shown, that picture could be the picture of a plant. What may be seen will be the general features of a plant. But how the person experiences differs. That is why even in the dictionary meaning we were discussing, you find that there were so many variations. These variations only came in because those who compiled the dictionary had to take into account the different impressions of others, and then they put these things together. And that's what you have there. So that is how it is. It is not that that information which is sought, which is provided by one's intuition is wrong. What is not right is to say whatever has been provided is received in the same way by others. Because you find people are different stages of maturity. The picture which you are set today, subsequently in maturing through some very severe experiences, in a week's time, you may see a more vibrant picture, yet you are still the same person. In a month's time or in a year's time, now that you've experienced, you may see a much, much vibrant and more expanded picture, yet you are the same person.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for this, again, detailed answer, about, how this intuitive perception operates, individually, you can say, according to our maturity. And as you said also, you could be in a particular situation today, and in 1 week's time, you could be on a different type of level of maturity as well. So if you ask this question today, and then 1 week later you ask it again, you could give a different answer. not meaning the contradictory answer necessarily, but something, let's say, higher level answer. So yeah. So I guess everything is you have to do in the moment rather than just rely on it. Oh, this is fact, for actual fact, and you just don't ever move from that reality of what is fact, and not see. I hope I'm not confusing people, but I'm trying to say that only where you stand is your answer based on, not. And do you know really if that's the highest level or it's somewhere else? You don't know. So it's just valid for that moment. You can say that you're talking. So thank you. Thanks for that. Um, I've got many other similar type of questions in a way, Gregory. But let me come with this one right now. Now, let's say many of us have, let's say, either follow a belief or some teaching, spiritual teaching, and let's say many people would say, "Oh, this is holy. This is the truth," actual word. And then, Gregory, like you said, we might have our own question related to this, some aspect of this teaching, and which may conflict with what the teaching says. And then now we are saying that we are using our intuitive perception for our, you could say, reflection about this matter. I've not got an example for this right now, but as I say, people have they follow something which is coming from a belief or teaching, and then let's say they have some question about that. I don't mean everything, just some one or two questions on something, and which is thinking they're in a, I don't know if I can say sensing, but they are not sure about that what has been expressed in the teaching is actually the reality. And so, let me say it this way, and then the intuitive perception thinks, oh no, this could not have happened. So it could be some event that happened, and I don't want to pick too much specific example, but let's say there's some miracle. I'm going to just say it like this, like Jesus walking on water or something of that type of nature, and which we know that humans can't really walk on water, not without some sort of tool to do that. So, and then somebody said, no, this can't be true. It might be written that this is the case, and then, but your intuition or you will question it. Let's say, Gregory, upon your reflection. So really, the question on that is, Gregory, when there's such a question within yourself that, oh, I believe in this, or I've been told something like this, but I'm not sure this has really happened. Let me say it's more like you're not sure that this is really true, that this could happen. What do you do now, Gregory? Do you follow what you have been told, or do you listen more to your intuitive perception, which questions that this cannot be real?
As with every scenario, one must be mobile. One must be in motion deep within, through one's intuition, which is always in motion anyway. For as we have examined in the past, motion is always a law in creation, in nature, in all activities. Therefore, motion is a fact. From motion has arisen, the nature of which is there are only two types of motion. That motion in which the end flows back to the beginning, from which the laws of creation, that law of reciprocal activity has arisen. And also the law of the attraction of homogeneity has arisen. That is an intrinsic part of motion in which the end of the motion flows back to the beginning. So in any examination, that must be considered. The second part in which the end of the motion does not flow back to the beginning, that very quickly one may categorize as that of gravitation. Gravitation with respect to the activities that has arisen in motion. In this particular case, we now have three basic laws of creation, which laws permeate nature. Therefore, we refer to them as the laws of nature. When an assertion is made, that assertion must be examined using the laws of creation, the laws of motion, which have been woven intrinsically from its earliest beginning, which laws have never changed and are still the same. Because these laws are eternal. Because motion is ubiquitous, is eternal. Everything is in motion. That being the case, that which one has been told must be examined using the laws of nature through which the human personality came into existence in spirit. Therefore, whatever assertion has been made, one will want to understand the scenario. Many who have reported such a scenario, saying Christ was walking on water, there are two possible impressions which they must have had. That impression in which is non-earthly, in which through their intuitive perception, they were able to perceive of Christ moving through the waters, moving from one place to the other, and yet they could see deep within there was the sea or the ocean, and Christ walked through. But in interpreting these things in an earthly way in which gravitation is paramount, it is strong, they could not differentiate that which they had seen spiritually or that which they have perceived, which is non-earthly, is then confused with that which is earthly. And they then said Christ was walking on water. The statement as seen or as perceived spiritually is correct. The statement as interpreted gross materially is very wrong, because in this world of matter, particularly on the earth, like you rightly said, something is needed to assist to be able to do that. And Christ came basically on a spiritual purpose, not all the petty things in which the human personality likes to embellish. Many things which we have seen in our dreams, we consider it, oh, it must be an earthly experience, and therefore it will be possible to do that one on the earth. That is not the case. Therefore, everything must be considered first in deeds, using the laws of creation, the laws of nature, as appertains to that particular category here in the world of gross matter. Secondly, the laws of nature, the laws of creation, as appertains in that category of our thoughts. And finally, for one who is discerning, who really wishes to know the laws of nature, the laws of creation, as appertaining to that which is spiritual. Only in such a way can one come to a much better understanding and not try to interpret that which has been perceived in spirit as to condense it into gross material perception and expect to receive the same result. Part of the reason why one had opposed or why one had counteracted when the topic says the spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. There was this other one where it was said the spirit communicates. For many, speaking and communications are equivalent. But when it is examined more and more deeper, albeit through spiritual communications, then you find that that word speaks will be used differently. For to communicate, that communication can affect speeches, can affect seeing, can affect smelling, can affect tasting. But using the expression speaks only has condensed it into one dimension, whereas the other dimension which has not been considered. The same thing with many things which have been interpreted earthly without considering the spiritual dimensions.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for the really deep answer there. Deep and thorough answer. You could say examining this matter of how you look at things when you have questions in life. So thank you very much for that. Dear listeners, I want to tell you, you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdrushin. And if you want to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is the spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. The spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. And you can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1 there, space live stream. That's for the live show. You can also listen to the recording of the show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1 there, space Grail message, space the topic of the show, which tonight it is the spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows as well, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno, that is ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1. Again, that's the number 1. Now, Gregory, there's so many, you could say, questions on this, how the spirit communicates through the intuitive perception, or let's say aspects of it that I would like to look at. So, I mean, you talked earlier about, this person, the maturity of the person who's using their intuitive perception, and saying is what they're perceiving is right or not right, Now I want to talk about another side of another angle of these things, which is let's say if a person is mentally ill, will their intuitive perception work correctly, or would it be prone to misunderstanding?
Again, it is good you mention this particular scenario. Many a time, what is perceived externally as mental illness, these perceptions have been wrongly interpreted. For the scenario must be examined in which a personality that is considered to have mental illness is the case of that in which in the past this personality expressed itself in a particular way. Subsequently, when this so-called mental illness sets in, it is expressing itself in a way which is completely different from what has been known in the past. And therefore, that expression which comes through its behavior, that means comparing the past behavior and now the current behavior, one is unable to align them. that particular scenario is generally referred to as a case of mental illness in the medical sector or generally. That is what has been perceived, or that is what it appears externally. But internally, it is very different. For you have that internally, you have that a personality which, due to its particular condition or due to its blood radiation at a particular time, is able to communicate with the body normally. At a different time, due to its weakness, another personality is able to resonate with the vibrations of the body or of the blood, and therefore make use of that bridge for its own experiences. For many of us who are able to witness this externally, we see difference in the personality, in the way the personality expresses itself, even to the extent that these things are diametrically opposed. And of course, generally, it is said there is some mental issue. Whereas what happens basically is that there are two human personalities that are fighting among themselves or struggling among themselves to make use of a physical body. The rightful owner that was born into the earth with this physical body, and then the other personality that is imposing, trying to make use of this physical body for its own experiences. This only happens when the rightful owner is weak in spirit. Or, on the other hand, when the rightful owner, through its blood radiations, is able to provide the opportunity to another. These things are very common in the case of many who take drugs, which the effect of these drugs alter their blood radiations, which now permits of an alien personality to make use of the body. That is very well known, where you have someone who was normal initially, the original personality, and then there's this behavior. There is also the behavior which is possible when some people, through drugs, through some form of injection, or some things they have through smoking, or many different things, or sometimes through severe shocks, where the rightful owner is shocked or is unable to communicate effectively, in which an alien human personality, that means not the rightful owner, is able, through its own vibration, to temporarily make use of this body. That precisely is what the medical professions have classified as mental issues. And very sadly, in many cases, so much medication is administered to these personalities, which instead of making the case better, worsens it.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, um, for your answer there. Um, it's quite clear for you know, when we look at a particular scenario, there's lots of things to consider or to be aware of, and what is at play in that situation. And let's say it requires a lot of understanding of that. What are the things at play, you can say. So we can only refer you to the Grail message for your deeper understanding and detailed to have a detailed picture of the scenario. You know, a lot of different things are happening, and so not that we are saying we're not going to try and answer the questions. We are going to do that, but things do require time to understand these concepts. So thank you again, Gregory, for the answer you've given. Um, um, Let me go to this question now, Gregory. They say women's intuition is very sharp or seem to be more higher than men's. So is there something special that women have that the men don't have, that they cannot, that the women are more sharp in their intuition or intuitive perception?
Again, these are profound questions. Of course, the constitution of women, spiritually, ethereally, and even gross materially, is different from the constitution of men. Through women, men are born into the earth. Not through men. This is quite, any person can verify that. Therefore, although they also are of mankind, but the receptivity of womanhood is much finer than the receptivity of man. For very simply, women stand in a higher position, in a higher perspective, to be able to receive of the streams of radiation in nature, in creation, so as to help direct it to those who need to make use of these radiations. Whereas the man who is involved in much denser executive activities is able to make use of these radiations, although he himself can receive, but not as fine as that of the woman. And that is why many a time when you yourself, even gross materially, look at the woman, she is much finer. That means she is more receptive to these radiations, and this is true only for those women who stand at their post, those who are able to perceive at such fine radiative processes and direct it to those who are able to work with it. For those who subsequently strive to replace that fine receptivity deep within them, for those who do not wish to work at that level, the free will is there to gravitate to a denser level, at the level of man, where the receptivity is weak. In that case, that which initially they were able to perceive, to receive and spread out, that becomes weakened. That is an aberration.
Thank you, Gregory, again for this answer. You know, let's say putting it simply about what women are, how women are different to men, and how they have a higher ability of perception, intuitive perception than the man. So thanks for that. Now, another question I have is, sometimes again you hear, let's say in the Bible, about the Holy Spirit speaking through or a human being or working through a human being. So can you explain what is meant by that? Earlier you talked about possession. Can you just tell us more? Well, first of all, is that really happening? If somebody says, oh, the Holy Spirit is speaking through me, is that really happening? Or if they mean something else, what could that represent, basically?
Of course, there are many who make all sorts of assertions. But these assertions must be examined. Must be examined intuitively, must be examined in thoughts, and also in deeds, to find out if indeed what they have put forward is what it is, or their own narrow interpretation for selfish reasons. When it is referred to that, oh, the Holy Spirit speaks through me, what has not been considered are the vibrations of the Holy Spirit, which vibrations are so powerful that should they strike the human personality directly, that human spirit will be incinerated. However, the effects of these vibrations, these effects must have gone through a chain. And the person at the last end is only able to perceive a very minute effect of the radiations that have emanated from the Holy Spirit. Unless that personality has been prepared over millennia, or unless the body which the personality is using has been prepared over millennia, thousands and thousands of years, such that the personality which is now referred to as the Holy Spirit, the vibrations is able to make use of. But for the average person, that has never been the case. What has always happened is that many listen to their own thoughts, or they are just trying to gain attention by imposing themselves on others to attract attention and say all sorts of things which are self-contradictory. Many should never be taken seriously. For if it is the word of the Holy Spirit, one, it must be in accordance with the laws of nature, of creation. It means it must resonate. Else, you will have that these do not resonate, and you cannot have a world which is divided against itself. But we shouldn't forget the effect of human self-deception, where they make all sort of assertions and that the Holy Spirit then comes and takes care of them and gives them also. Those cannot be taken very seriously at all.
Thanks a lot again, Gregory, for this answer. Now I'm just, I think I can do one more question. Can one detect if someone is lying, Gregory, through the intuitive perception? What I mean by that, Gregory, sometimes people cannot find evidence to prove, to know if someone is lying or not. And the intuitive perception, you said it's, it comes from the source of it is the spirit. So is it, let's say, does it have that capacity to detect that if somebody's lying?
Of course, one's intuition has that intrinsic capacity. For what you yourself refer to as lying is having the outermost expressions, what one says and one does, is different from one's thoughts. So when one's thoughts are at variance with one's deeds, then there must be a problem there. That means you have a scenario where there is, for personal reasons, that which one has perceived as a fact, one is weaving around it and giving a different impression. That is what we refer to as a lie, or generally refer to as a lie. All right, you say something, these are the facts. Which facts are already there? Which, if one is intuitive enough, and there lies the challenge, one should be able to detect that one's thoughts are at variance with the deeds, and therefore one should make up one's mind and say, look, this cannot be relied on. But everything must be subjected to examination, to weighing and examining. The case you initially mentioned, in which they said Christ walked on water, those who repeated that, it was not that they themselves were lying. It was only a matter of they repeated what others, or what has been passed on to them without understanding it. Whereas what might have been passed on to them was that, or pictures of the spirits. Whereas they, in their own states, are not considering pictures of the spirit, but pictures gross materially. So, in that case, for a third party who is passed on this information, they will say, oh, that's a lie. He's lying. He, strictly speaking, is not lying, but has only represented those pictures shown spiritually, has condensed it to such an earthly way that it appears that Christ was walking on this gross material earth on water. Of course, these things are, so many things are possible nowadays. Even the cartoons children watch, there are all sorts of scenarios which are grossly exaggerated. So, with human personalities, whatever is said, whatever is expressed, must be examined in accordance with the laws of nature, must be examined in its representation gross materially, must be examined in its representation in our thoughts, and must be examined in its representation spiritually. Only when these three different categories are examined and synchronized such that they resonate, only then will one say there is conviction. Else, there is lack of conviction.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for your answer there. Answer here. We've come to the end of the show, listeners. Hope you've enjoyed the discussion on the Spirit speaks through the intuitive perception. I want to just now end with the beginning of what is in the foreword of the Grail message, which is titled "For Your Guidance." The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I am addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such, it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed-for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities which lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Aprushin. Dear listeners, just to remind you, if you do want to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And we thank you for listening to our show tonight. Gregory, anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wish them a beautiful week.
Thank you for that. And the same from me, listeners. We'll be back as usual next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. with another topic. Have a great week. God bless. Good night